Hey everyone, Elise here from TGG Gaming at the Sioux Falls, South Dakota Regional. Who are you and how do you do today?
Hello, my name is Matt Tietjen. I got top 8 with Despia branded build. Yeah.
Alright, any shout-outs or anything you want to say before we get into the deck profile?
Yeah, of course. Shout-outs to my friends, Ty and Brandon, who were able to come down with us. Shout-outs to Brandon for getting top 3. That's pretty awesome. And shout-outs to my friends who couldn't make it, Taylor and Scott. Love you guys. Hope to see you at the next one.
Alright, I guess we can just get straight into it.
Yeah, sure thing. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck here. Just stop me if you have any questions on ratios or anything. It's pretty cut dry. 3 Aluber, play starter, etc. 3 copies of Tragedy. Bumped it up to 3 because I'm running the Allure build, and along with the Patchwork engine, sometimes it's just nice if you open Patchwork, and Tragedy helps you find Allure, which finds your fusion spells, and without the fusion spells, you lose. So, and then the other 2 guys, Dramaturge, I've been a believer since the beginning. Now people are finally realizing a 3K beat stick that's recurable is really good. So that's pretty much it for the Despia guys. Next we'll go 3 Fallen of Albaz. He's just a good old boy. Fusion summons. You don't love to open too many of them in hand, but he's not terrible actually when you're opening it with Poly, because in case they stop your branded fusion, you're able to combo off by using the Patchwork engine to kind of supplement the send from deck. So good there. And then along with them, 2 copies of Mercurier. Really good pluses off Allure of Darkness when you banish him, or if you banish it off Fairy Tale Snow, which, spoiler alert, we're playing. And then 1 Kit and 1 Albion. Originally my list was at 44, it's up to 45 now. I made the last minute inclusion of Kit and was super glad I did. Really solid extender, helps you get into some cool board states that you normally can't really do unless you just open Ridiculous. And Albion is Upstart Goblin that sends targets for branded and red, so good cards. Next we have the 3 Chain. We'll get into the rest of the package on that. Kind of self-explanatory. And then the 1 Fairy Tale Snow to send off of the branded fusion. And lastly, from monsters, we have a couple hand traps. We are playing Crossout Designator in this list, so we're running 2 copies of Ash Blossom and 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Originally, I was kind of going back and forth if I wanted to make room for 1 more Effect Veiler, but I figured Veiler would be the least popular of the hand trap lineup today, and no one dropped it on me, but I stopped a lot of Imperms and a lot of Ashes with Crossout, so really good card, really good card. And they performed well if you draw them too. So next into the spells, we got the branded spells, 3 branded fusion, 3 branded opening, 2 red, 1 lost, and the MVP of the day, branded banishment. The remaster of Shaddoll Fusion, basically, being able to send from deck is crazy. Branded opening, being able to use it during the draw phase to play around Droll and Effect Veiler is really, really helpful, especially when you're sending guys like Chain. You get 3 searches off in your draw phase and your opponent can't really do anything about it. Branded in red, not much more to say about that. And honestly, the 2 best branded cards, I don't know why people only play 1 of each. Frankly, I might tinker with more in the future. Lost, just saying no to your opponent to interacting with your fusion spells and your fusion summons. Really crazy. On top of that, it gets you the extra advantage off cards like Kit and Mercurier. And the branded banishment was, it's super poly without being super poly. It's searchable, it's recurable off of Tragedy's graveyard effects. And yeah, really crazy card. You probably wouldn't want to play more than 1 though. It does tend to brick you a little bit, but yeah, overall no complaints on the branded lineup of spells and traps. There's a lot of MVPs of the day. Next MVP was Crossout Designator. Today, out of my 7 rounds, I played against branded 6 of them. I played against 6 branded decks today.
Jeez.
So let me tell you what, I crossed out a lot of branded fusions, a lot of branded and reds, and even a banishment one time, which...
So what you're saying is you took the bullet from me today, so
yes.
I didn't have to play.
I played against a lot of branded Despia pilots, all who were great in their own right. Just drew a little better, I guess, right? Next, because we're on kind of the turbo build, as it's been dubbed at this point, 3 Allure. Draw 2, and then if you banish Mercurier or the Tragedy, free pluses for days becomes pot of greed plus. And then we are running the 3 copies of Fright for Patchwork. You know, I know Konami, and I have a weird feeling that this is going to be the card that they hit to try and supplement the fact that this deck is doing as well it is right now. Patchwork's crazy. It's +1. It gets you a Dark Monster. It gets you a Fusion spell. Definitely play 3 of it. I want to cut it. I did side out one Patchwork and 1 Chain quite a bit today, though, just to try and find answers to unbreakable board states. Along with that, the 2 polymerizations, best art, don't at me. And because it's a meme at this point, the one called by the grave, the card that needs to be banned. But no, actually performed really well today. Hit a lot of funny graveyard effects and hand traps. So now that's it for the main deck, 45 cards strong. And honestly, there's not much wiggle room. I don't know if I changed the ratios or anything too much. We'll jump into the extra quick though. 3 copies of Albion. I found myself in testing summoning this card just by itself a lot. Being able to foolish the Fairy Tale Snow off of Branded Fusion is crazy. And then of course the Graveyard Effect, ridiculous. If you wanted to play, and this is a spoiler, I'm not actually running the new Fusion for the deck. I was just hoping I want to play against Dragon Link, so glad I didn't run into you in Top Cut at least, because that would have been terrible. But I think Albion's just better in general. You're able to find Banishment and Branded in Red, which you can't do off of the other ones.
Yeah.
So. And then 2 Mirror Jade, not much to say there. I did cut Lubellion to 1 copy. My thought process on it was you almost always shuffle it back into the deck, and it never really came up at more than 1. So anytime they stop it, I just kind of relied on Albion to carry me through the rest of the game. The only other branded Albaz and Fallen of Albaz and Fred's Fusion. 1 big Brigand, you're playing it so you can search McCourier during the end phase if you have a crazy turn, and then the Titaniclad out to big towers like monsters that you normally can't get rid of. So that's what we got for the Fallen of Albaz fusions. Despia monsters, we are only playing 3. We're running the 2 copies of Masquerade and the 1 Cuartis. Cuartis was great today, except the time that I made it in the mirror match, thinking that it would float when it was destroyed by battle. Does not do that. Whoops is right. I was thinking about the Despia field spell that I cut last minute, which might be a nice inclusion in the future too, actually. Cuartis is great playing into decks like Swordsoul, though. You can zero out their whole board. It's a must negate. And Masquerade did a lot of work making people pay their taxes. So 600 a card, 600 in effect. It really adds up quickly, and it really makes the crackback super easy to knock them out through. So, and then we played 2 Guardian Chimera. Every time this card hit the board, it was a win, basically. Pop 2 non-target, or draw 1 or draw 2 and pop 1 non-target. Either way, crazy. Because we're playing the Fright for stuff too, it can't be targeted by card effects of Polly's Engrave. Just phenomenal, really good card. And lastly, we have the 2 copies of the fusion cards that we make sometimes off of Fallen of Albaz, summoned during the end phase off like Brigand or cards like that, and the 1 Starving Venom. For Banishment. Branded Banishment makes these cards super easy in the mirror match, which I played a lot of today, and they really came up. Him to beat over stuff, and him is just kind of an all-purpose negate. Sometimes if you open well, you can end with him on your starting board too. And then lastly, we'll just run through the side real quick. Sorry, I know I'm getting a little winded here. We're playing 3 copies of Drool. This was just kind of the hand trap that made sense today. Against pretty much everything but Swordsoul, I feel like it's a turn skip most of the time. Of course, all these darn branded players are getting smart, starting to activate the branded openings in the draw phase, which Droll cannot interact with, so be wary if you're playing that or playing against that for that. And then we're playing the Banshee and Zombie World. I only played against branded today, so these cards were terrible. But in theory, against some of the rogue decks like Adignister or Fwanderies, they're instant wins if they resolve, so pretty good. We're playing 1 Change of Heart for the memes because I had a shiny one. I sided it in going second every single game and never saw it. Did come up in testing though, and it was a good card in that. Target your opponent's Baron, make a bad decision to negate or to be in trouble. So, and then lastly, because we're at a South Dakota Regional. I'm talking 6 copies of Back Row Hate, 2 Cosmic, 3 Twin, and a Red Reboot. Cosmic was probably the one that performed the least well today. It really goes back and forth based on the format. In theory, Twin is really good against Philander for like the standby phases, so we're playing a lot of hate for that. And it's also just good against all those floodgate decks, you know. Eldlich, like that Ryan Gaskin guy, he always plays those purple cards. So, and then Red Reboot, it is the Saki one of, but it did win me like 2 or 3 games today, just seeing it. And yeah, you know, oh yeah, flip rivalry. What am I gonna do anyway? Here's a Red Reboot. Time to take 8,000 points of battle damage. And then 3D barrier. It's can't really afford to run anti-spell with this, just based on the amount of spells you're running, and when you set them, sometimes it just doesn't work out. D barrier though is a must-of against the mirror match, and as well as Swordsoul, which are the 2 most represented decks in my opinion. One thing to note, and it's not really a secret or a tip anymore, but with D barrier, I almost always sided one in going second, because I never took out the 3 crossouts because you're playing the mirror match.
Yep.
And the only 2 cards that really deal with D barrier are Red Reboots and the crossouts. So no, but outside of that though, deck performed super well today. I was really pleased with how the turnout was, obviously. But yeah, I don't think I'd really change anything though. So.
Nice, nice. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for the deck profile. Congrats on the top. Hopefully we'll see more from you soon. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. So you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Take care.